Good everyone, my name is Kehinde Adigun. I'm a registered town planner, a licensed drone pilot, and a geospatial analyst. At OEA Consult, I lead the planning unit and I'm also the project coordinator. As the lead of the planning unit, I see to the day-to-day activities of the planning unit of the company. I oversee the planning project. I ensure that all of our projects are in line with global standards and as well as planning regulations, policies, the master plans, the action area plans, the approval orders. I ensure that all our projects are within the dictates of these planning documents that I mentioned. And also as a project coordinator, I ensure all our projects are done first in line with the client's brief and to ensure that projects are delivered timely, and like I said earlier on, to ensure that all our projects are within the global best standards. As a project coordinator in OEA, some of the major steps that we take before we fully commence a project, it involves one, the initial talks with the client. We try to understand the client's brief, the scope of services, and the terms of reference. These areas are very critical because as the project would proceed, these are the documents that we would fall back onto. And during this stage, why I said it is critical is because this is where we have a lot of back and forth with the client. Take for instance, if we're looking at a planning project, we would need to first check what the planning law talks about, what the regulation talks about, and if it's going, we also check the master plan or an action area plan that is where the project falls in. We need to ensure that it is compliant, the project is compliant and all. This would most times or sometimes we would have a client say, "Oh, this is what I want," and all. The client needs are always there, but then we always try to ensure that we explain in the facts, that is the details, so that the client understands this is the position of the law, this is the position of planning standards and all. So these are, I think that's like one of the major challenges that we face during the project coordination. And apart from that, we all know all projects there's no way a project will have a project that will not have its hiccups or its challenges along the way. And I think that's one of the major things that keeps me on my toes as the project coordinator, because number one, I should be able to emphasize the challenges or the problems that might come up and then look for ways to mitigate it during the project or at the very beginning. And the way we do this is after getting the client's brief and we have discussed, we have a final terms of reference, scope of services. We have a meeting with each departmental head. So, okay, this area, this is where your department comes in. Your department comes in this area. What are the problems that you envisage will come up? So, and how do we mitigate these problems? So, we have already, it's just like we have been to the future while still being in the present. So that when these issues are coming up, we already have solution for them. And that's one of the things that makes work very easy and makes at the end of the day, our project makes it robust and all. Alright, my view on urban and regional planning in Nigeria and Africa. Based on my own my experience, my discussions with colleagues, I see urban and regional planning will go a very long way in ensuring that our environment is inclusive, sustainable in the nearest future. Taking it for example, Lagos State, there are so many plans that are put in place by the government to ensure that the environment is conducive, everybody builds with the required standards and the like. So planning will be of great advantage in the nearest future. However, I think there are still some certain areas that we can improve on to ensure that we actualize most of these our plans, our master plans, our action area plans, our policies and the like. I think the first thing is the bottom-up approach. That is, we have to ensure that for all our plans, all our policies, regulations, and the like, we have to ensure that the like for instance, community settlements, the inhabitants of all of these areas are carried along, so that by the time these plans are being put in place, there will be a sort of cooperation. They will be able to receive these plans easily, and then the implementation becomes very easy, and you find out that at the end of the day, the enforcement that you would have to do will be minute. Yes, I understand that human nature. We have people are well, human nature is dynamic. Some people might not want change to occur and all, but I feel my own opinion is that with a detailed stakeholders engagement, whereby you ensure everybody down to the youths, the children, the adults, are not just focused on the adults or the chiefs in the community. Everybody down to the youth, the children are carried along in all of these plans. So that I feel the more when we have our bottom-up approach is more efficient. I think implementation of our plans will be quite easy. And also in the future of planning, I would like to say that or implore planners to always move with the trend. And how do we move with the trend? We ensure that we attend meetings, conferences, so that we can get insight. And not just planning conferences in this instance now. We need to go, okay, surveyors are having a conference. We can have some representatives go there and get knowledge of, okay, this is what the surveyors are thinking. So that because everybody in the built environment we are all one. So we need to know, keep ourselves abreast of whatever is going on in different sectors. Okay, this is now the new building code. This is now this is this. So we need to interact with everybody. We need to expand our knowledge, and we need to keep ourselves with the new technologies in vogue. We need to ensure that we are up to date with all of these technologies and the likes. One piece of advice I would give to aspiring planners or young planners is that, like I've said earlier on, yeah, I know that although the planning might look a little bit difficult to as a profession in this part of the world, but I would admonish you and encourage you not to relax, not to feel down about the profession. The profession has a bright future, and the way we can ensure that we keep the profession in its high status is by one, like I've mentioned earlier on, we need to ensure all of these tools. Apart from the tools, different things that we need to look at, some of the things that we're taught in school, and we should be able to think, and okay, this is the trend now, how can I put this into play? How can I introduce this concept that would not affect the planning standards and all? So as young planners, please, I would like to admonish us, let's not just base our knowledge on all the things that we learned in school. There's a whole lot out there for us to learn as planners. There are different concepts that we can think of. There are different tools that are coming up by the day that we can use in enhancing our profession. So my major advice to young planners, including myself, is that we should keep learning. We should never stop learning. Let's keep learning, and not just learning. You can learn a whole lot and not implement it. We should learn and also strive to ensure that we push some of these things in our designs, in our write-ups, our reports. We should put most of these things in there. So that's my major advice. Do not stay in one place. There are a whole lot of opportunities. Even in the planning sector, we have transportation, we have waste management, we have coastal planning, we have housing and the like. So there are different areas that we can tap into, and there are different technologies, different skills that we can gain, that we can gather rather in all of these areas. So please, my advice is you should keep on learning. Yes, thank you. What keeps me motivated in my field is that the next project that I work on is more challenging than the previous. So if I'm to work on a new project and then it's not challenging, it's not disturbing it's not giving me sleepless nights, I don't think I get motivated by that. So one of the things that we say at OEA is the project that you're working on next has to have a much more challenge than the previous one. So that's one of the things that keeps me motivated, because it keeps me up to learn new things. And most times that I'm going, once I think of a problem, I should be able to think of 5, 6, 10 ways that can be solved. So I'm always intrigued by new things. When I see new development or new methods of solving a problem, it motivates me to learn more. And when I see new solutions to problems, it motivates me more. And it wants me to keep being in the field, the planning field. So, like I said, one of the things is the fact that another thing that motivates me is the fact that in OEA, I'm in the planning unit, and let's say for instance there's a project in the in the GIS team, for instance. My knowledge in the planning environment, I can be able to say one or two things that would assist in that project. So these are minimal things keep my mind and my brain working, and it motivates me every time to stand up from my bed and want to come to work, because I know that there is a problem that I need to solve. So the moment I have that at the back of my mind, I ensure that I go the extra mile to find a solution, and not just me, the whole team at OEA Consult, to ensure that we find a solution to that problem. We don't go to bed. Literally, we don't go to bed without solving it. So it's that alone keeps me motivated. Thank you. All right. Thank you for listening. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and also follow us on all of our socials on X, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at OEA Consult. Thank you.